Hello and welcome to this Oak Tree English video on the writing exam for ESOL Level 1 with City and Guilds. The writing exam is in 3 parts. First, you're tested on your Spag. Then there are 2 free writing tasks. In this video, we're going to look at each area and I will tell you how you are assessed. You have 3 hours to do this exam. First, we have the Spag part of the exam. Spag stands for spelling, punctuation and grammar. These are tested in 5 or 6 activities. First, you're tested on punctuation, including capital letters. You'll be given a short text and told how many capital letters and punctuation marks are missing. You have to put them in. For example, in the sentence, the exam is fun, exciting and interesting, according to Matt. You need a capital T for the, because a sentence always starts with a capital letter. Where you have a list of adjectives, or a list of anything, you separate the items with commas. Except for the last one, before and, we don't put a comma there, unless you want to use the Oxford comma, but that's pointless. And of course, Matt is a proper noun or a name and therefore has a capital M. And how do you end a sentence? That's right, with a full stop, always with a full stop. Finally, you'll be asked to identify why a paragraph has been put in. Here, I have a top tip for this. Paragraphs are started to show a change in topic, place, time, or person to top tip, topic, place, time, or person. The second question asks you to identify and correct misspelt words. I recommend watching my spelling video to help with this part, because the chosen words are likely to be homophones or doubled letters or silent letters or irregular plurals or past tenses. For example, in this sentence, practice your spelling strategies with common mistakes. Practice, of course, is with an S. S for a verb, C for an adjective, C for a noun. If it ends in ice, it's a noun. If it ends in eyes, it's a verb. But in British English, we don't spell eyes with a Z like our American cousins do. So it's never never Z. Your spelling, it's a double letter one here, but it's not a double E, it's a double L, because otherwise it'd be spelling, wouldn't it? So they doubled the wrong one. Strategies is plural, Y, so it ends in IES. With common, double M and not UN, common. And mistakes again, we very rarely in English, if at all, have 3 S's in a row. So it's a one S deal. Common mistakes. Exercise 3 is word selection. You're given a text with 3 options to fill a particular word. This often tests tenses, prepositions and adverbs, which often get confused. For example, Oak Tree English teaches, taught or teaching English on, in, at YouTube. You notice the first one is a part of a verb, and of course you know that Oak Tree English teaches English. On, in, at, you know that these are prepositions, and of course it's no mystery to you that the answer is on YouTube. But those are the sorts of things that you will be tested on, and that's how you do it. The next exercise asks you to complete a sentence with the correct form of a given word. This may be a part of a verb or a different word class, which you will change, usually with a suffix. You may have to adapt the meaning with a prefix. For example, the confusing question was phrased ... with the given word being logic. This could be changed by adding the suffix al to make it an adjective, logical, and ly to make it an adverb so that it can describe the verb phrased, logically. To make it fit the meaning, you can add the negating prefix ill, so that we finally have the word illogically. The next exercise tests your knowledge of phrasal or multi-word verbs. This is done through a gap fill, where you're given a number of verbs to choose from, and you have to choose the one that fits the context. You probably won't have to change the form of the verb. Just understand if it's being used in a literal sense, like pick up that jacket, meaning take it from the floor and put it on a hook, or figurative, Dad, can you pick me up after the party? Which means, can you get out of bed at 3 a.m, drive to my friend's house, wait while I finish dancing, then bring me home while I tell you what a terrible dad you are. Or so I understand from parents of teenagers. Finally, there we go. Dad, can you pick me up after the party? Finally, you'll have to complete some complex sentences. As you know, complex sentences are sentences with both dependent and independent clauses. That is part of the sentence that would make sense by itself, and a clause which adds detail but wouldn't work on its own. All conditional sentences are complex by definition, as are sentences with because. This is a freer exercise, so I urge you to make it easy on yourself and do this. No, not kiss the invigilator, that will not help your cause, but rather keep it simple, student. Trying to make this complicated is a good way to lose marks. So if you're given a frame, if I, you could complete it. If I watch Oak Tree English videos, I will pass my exam. To pass this section, you must have at least 20 out of 30 marks, with a minimum of 1 mark in each exercise. This is probably the hardest part of the exam. Parts 2 and 3 are both writing tasks. You may be asked to write a letter, or an email, or a short story, or an article, or a blog. In each case, you'll have to work out who the audience is. You can do this on a matrix of tone and style. The tone is formal or informal. The style is personal to impersonal. For example, a letter is always personal. That is, written from a person to a person. But it can be informal to a friend or formal to a company. An article is always impersonal. That is, it's written to a general audience and is usually informal depending on where it's published. When you know who the audience is, you can begin to plan. For this, I suggest, give me 5. You can plan to write in 5 parts. You can start with an introduction, usually saying the reason for writing. Then you can make the main points you were asked for in the question, and finally end with a concluding paragraph. This model also works when planning to write a paragraph. Don't forget to frame a letter or an email with appropriate greetings and signatures. You're marked on having produced a plan, and you can fail the whole exam if you don't. So this is a very important step not to miss. What else are you marked on? Glad you asked. Let's see. As well as getting 1 mark for producing a plan, which shows introduction, main body, and conclusion, activities 2 and 3 are marked on 6 criteria. You're given a task with 4 points to write about. For example, write about a place to visit in the UK. Write about where the place is, what you like about it, what there is to do there, how to find out more. Remember, you'll not be marked on the accuracy of the information, only the quality of your writing. So if you want to write that there is a roller coaster that goes over, under and through Stonehenge, it won't lose you any marks. You will be marked on content. So make sure you write about each point for a mark on each. Make sure you write what is required, whether you're being asked for a blog, an article, or a letter. Make sure that your layout is consistent with the type of writing you have been asked for. I have videos on individual types of writing if you find these problematic. You should aim to write about a page, but organised into short but clear paragraphs. I have a video on paragraphs too. You'll also be marked on grammar, particularly simple, compound and complex sentences. So that is one independent clause in a sentence, 2 sentences joined with and or but, and a sentence with a supporting thought and a supported thought, as I discussed on the last slide. My paragraphs video also has an explanation of the 3 sorts of sentences. The full requirement for grammar at level 1 is on a different video, which I warmly recommend. If you're beginning to think that your entire revision is going to be watching Oak Tree English videos, you're probably right. So please don't forget to comment where you where you can. So you're also marked on range. This is the range of sentence structure. Make sure you have simple, complex and compound sentences. Your range of vocabulary and your range of expressions. So you can put idioms in, phrasal verbs in, colloquialisms if it's appropriate, particularly for an informal piece of writing. You're marked, of course, as previously mentioned, on spelling, but only for common words, common and familiar words. These should be spelt correctly. You're marked also on punctuation, including capitalization, commas and end sentence marks. See what I've done there? ABC for capitals, commas, full stops, exclamation marks, question marks. You'll also be marked on formality. You'll be tested on the standard of presentation, so write neatly, and appropriate use of language. If the examiner can't read your handwriting, then it creates a poor impression on him, and you won't get the marks you deserve. So please, write neatly. To make sure, think about the audience on the use of language. A postcard to your mum will not have the same register as a letter to His Majesty the King, God bless him. The key to passing this element is in planning. You have plenty of time to do this, so take the opportunity and don't be lazy. You have 1 hour to do each piece of writing. And that's it. 3 activities in 3 hours, testing Spag and free writing. You've got this. Go on and pass that exam, friends. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share and subscribe, or even support me by becoming a channel member for early access to new videos. Goodbye.